meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Please take your seats. Roll call, please.
Meister. Reckner. Brocious.
Here.
Barnhart. Here. Martina.
Here.
There was an executive session held today, 8/14/2023, to discuss personnel and possible litigation. Is there any public comment on agenda items at this time? Any public comment on agenda at this time? All right, I'd like to make a motion to add two things to the agenda. One is the hire of 2 part-time DPW workers, and also for a road closure for October 21st for Fall Festival. Do I have a second for those?
Second.
Meister. Brocious.
Yes.
Barnhart.
Yes to the first one, abstain.
Martina.
Yes.
All right. Once again, any public comment on agenda items at this time? All right. Approval of minutes and reports. Minutes from July 10th and 24th. Reports of the Fire Department, Police Department, Treasurer, Controller, Code Office, Health Department, and Planning Commission. Do I have a second?
Brocious.
Yes.
Barnhart.
Yes.
Martina.
Yes.
Meister.
City Clerk, Jamie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you would recess your meeting and we'll call the public hearing to order for CDBG 2023.
Meeting is in recess.
All right, here we are again. I feel like a broken record. Here all the time doing this. Tonight we have the first public hearing for the city's 2023 CDBG program. As you all pretty much know, the CDBG program is a federal program that was created through an act of Congress. It comes down from the Department of Housing and Urban Development at the federal level to the Department of Community and Economic Development at the state, and then the state then allots entitlement communities and counties with CDBG funds each year. The city's allocation this year is $311,258. It's a slight increase from last year. Everybody got a little bit more money. There's packets up here if anybody's interested, but you've all heard this so many times, you probably remember. Eligible activities, or the schedule we'll do first. So the second page of the packet there is your schedule. Today is our first public hearing. Back in July, we did send out emails and hard copies of information, a cover letter, and the project summary form to all the different nonprofits, organizations, city departments. I did not receive any back, so we did not get any new project submissions this year. On the 21st is the due date, so if anybody has anything they want to talk to me about, please feel free to give me a call, shoot me an email, and we can talk through them. Project finalization is at your August 28th meeting, and then we'll have your final public hearing on September 25th with application approval at that time. And the application is due to DCD at the end of October. Eligible and ineligible activities, if you look at the next page, there's a list. It's easier to say what's not eligible. So ineligible is anything that's operation and maintenance costs, political activities, new housing, general government buildings, so you can't acquire, construct, or reconstruct your general government building, such as City Hall, and then movable equipment is generally not eligible. Most often we see projects like water, sewer, stormwater, street reconstruction, housing rehab, recreation projects, public services, parking lots, code enforcement, economic development. We can do clearance, demolition. Like I said, it's easier to say what's not eligible with CDBG funds. We can come up with an eligible project, but in order to move forward, the next hurdle is meeting a national objective. So 70% of the city's funds every year must go to projects that benefit primarily low to moderate income persons. So that means 51% or more of the individuals benefiting must be low to moderate income. In the city, we do have that via the census data, the American Community Survey data. So citywide, we do have greater than 51% low to moderate income residents. So many of the projects that we do are qualified based on benefit citywide. The second national objective you could meet is elimination of slumber blight. Most of you probably remember we did quite a few demolitions with the redevelopment authority. You can use up to 30% of your CDBG funds every year for that activity. We normally do that to get rid of a blighted structure on a spot-by-spot basis. And then a response to urgent need is the third national objective that you could meet. This is what we did through COVID. So it has to be a formal declaration of an emergency, has to occur in the last 18 months. You can only do what you need to do to eliminate that emergency. And it has to be something that the community hadn't budgeted funds for. And again, maximum 30% can be used for that. We only use this in the case of a natural disaster or some other emergency. You can't just use it when you can't do something else. So we don't use it very often. Hopefully we won't need to. Eligible applicants for the city project. So generally the city has infrastructure projects that they put forward for their CDBG funding. We can also fund nonprofits or community groups. There is a possibility of funding for-profit projects. Generally, we don't do that. Economic development is very difficult, and you really can't meet the hurdles you have to. It's not logical. But normally, our eligible applicants are the city, the nonprofits, and then any of the other departments within the city may have projects. There are no match requirements for CDBG, so the federal program does not have a match requirement. However, if a group was to put forward a project that the city would like to consider doing, they would have the expectation that that group would have some funds in that project, some skin in the game. When we send out the project summary form, which is right behind the national objectives, we are basically looking for all of the information about who you are and what you want to do. So give us a detailed project description, the schedule you think, how long your project is going to take, what you think it's going to cost. Those are those big things. And then who is going to benefit? So how are you going to meet one of those three national objectives with the project? If we were to get any, we would rank them based on what we receive from anybody who submits one, and we would consider things like the need, the timeliness, how many people are benefiting. We would have a system of ranking those projects to consider what the city council should actually fund. So there is a project summary form. There's a bunch up here if anybody wants one. The next thing we have to do is the federal requirements that come along with the program that we have to talk about every year. First being the fair housing officer and complaint process. The city does have a policy in place to ensure fair housing and to ensure that they do not have any impediments to fair housing in the city. They use the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission and U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development offices as fair housing officers. The contact information is included up here. If you feel there are any fair housing issues or discrimination in housing, please make sure that you contact one of those organizations. The second policy that we have to talk about is the anti-displacement plan. The city has a plan in place as required by the CDBG program that defines what will happen if a CDBG project were to displace people. Our policy is to not displace people. We've never done a project to displace people. I would never really consider doing one unless it was an absolute necessity to do it. But if you did need to displace people with a CDBG funded project, this plan says what you have to do, are required to do to relocate them and ensure that they have housing of the same level that they did have before you displaced them. It is required that anybody who is displaced be relocated by the city. The third federal regulation is the Section 3, which is the statement on the back of your agenda. Section 3 is a HUD program that is designed to help find job opportunities for low-income people or businesses. So a Section 3 resident is a person who resides in the City of Sunbury, who has an income of less than $43,250. And then a Section 3 business concern is a business that is at least 51% owned by a low to moderate income person. And then it goes into talking about labor hours done by Section 3 workers. And then also it could be controlled by current public housing residents or residents who live in Section 8 housing. So basically the point is, if we have a project and we hire a contractor and they need workers, we try to get them to find Section 8 individuals to work with, or if they need subcontractors, to try to find Section 8 businesses to work with. We don't have very many around, or we don't know who they are, so if you see this and you're interested and think that you would qualify for something like this, please let me know. And finally, the Section 504 outreach. Section 504 is a federal program. It goes across all federal programs. It's not just your CDBG program. It is basically ensuring that all city-owned facilities are accessible. So we have a Section 504 plan in place. We had a transition plan. The one item that was identified at the time was the ramp to the gazebo in Cameron Park. That's been completed. But the city administrator is the city's Section 504 officer. So if you do feel like there's been any discrimination or any issues with access to city-owned facilities, please contact Derek and we can get that looked into for you. Those are the federal items we have to go over. 2023, the project I'm aware of is Susquehanna Avenue. Does anybody have any other projects they'd like to discuss? Okay. Previously funded project was Reagan Street, Chestnut Street, demolitions. So the city does a lot of big projects that take several years of their funding. So and it's better to do that. You get more bang for your buck to do it that way. The other thing we have to consider is that no CDBG project can be undertaken unless the NEPA environmental review has been cleared. That is done on Susquehanna Avenue. And we have to ask if anybody has any concerns about environmental or historical impacts from previous projects. All right, I guess that's it. I think Francis is giving me the cutoff.
Giving you the evil eye.
The hearing is adjourned and you can reconvene your meeting.
All right, I could read the people. Oh, go ahead.
Yes.
One question, UTVs,
Yes,
what are you doing about those?
I give that to Councilman Ister. Jerome was asking about the UTVs. What are you doing?
I'd like to know.
How are we gonna pay for the difference?
Well, this week we'll be going up there, going through line item by line item to see what was ordered, what wasn't ordered, and so forth, and then come up with a number, and then bring that number back to council. We'll discuss it in January first. Anything else, sir?
So are we gonna propose any changes?
Are we going to propose any changes?
Well, I don't know yet, I didn't discuss it with them.
We already paid the one that had changes.
Yes,
That's already been paid for, so.
I can't help that.
Do something about it, some type of motion to adjust it.
Well, let's get the numbers together, then bring the numbers back.
So we're gonna do it all in one
What do you suggest?
time. I suggest, I think they're the one that we already paid for. That was already paid, that check was already done.
I don't know how those numbers are from, it's
Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, we allocated X number of dollars, so.
You approved purchasing UTVs.
Yes.
You got quotes to purchase UTVs. There was no dollar amount necessarily, but you got the quotes. And then you approved those quotes. And then the invoices we got
Did not match the quotes.
did not match the quotes.
So do we need to take any action, since we already paid that first invoice, do we need to take any action tonight to make up the difference that we weren't aware
I would
of?
suggest that you have the councilmeister or whomever meet with Hoover and find out why. The big difference.
Why the changes were made
Right,
and,
but the big difference with the police one was the actual UTV cost was more than the actual UTV cost for the other three, like just the first line item, the actual
Yeah.
machine. I don't know why. The other ones all matched the quotes for that item, they
Yeah.
just added stuff. But this one, I don't know why. It has the same model number and everything, so I would suggest you find out why
Well,
and see
it's
what,
obvious, it has to be clerical.
yes,
Number
so,
two, I talked to Jamie today, I talked to Jamie last week, I talked to Derek today, I'm getting all the invoices and the dates, and I'm all stacked together. So I go up, we can pay one by one, because at 8/15, 8/16, 7, okay? They don't match, okay? That's where we had to sit down and find out what changed in the invoices. And you and I discussed it Friday or Thursday or Friday, we discussed that. Nothing else moved because I was waiting for copies and doing my spoke today. Derek, you sent to Derek has on all back on. Steve and I have talked, like, Brad, your buggy.
I do it.
About, but the first number's off by 2,000.
Yeah, something like that,
That's
yeah.
clerical instead of being 22, I think.
23, it was 24 something.
Yes, okay, so there's a clerical there. That was pretty good. Steve, we know you wanted the max, so it looked fancier, so that's pretty good. 6, so.
I suggest we gather what, get their information. If they adjust them back to where they should be and owe you a refund, then that's that and we're done. So let's get that information and see what
Okay,
they
so
say. And I think the next.
Kevin and I talked, one of the other suggestions we were suggesting is that for Steve's stuff, we maybe want to look at using the fuel hours. Plenty of them there.
I have invoices showing. No. I have invoices to show that it's a package deal.
All right, we're not gonna solve anything tonight. If you guys can figure that out at a different time.
Thank you.
Jamie said we don't need any action at this moment, so we get the numbers back and see where they adjust, and then we can figure out what needs to be done moving forward. And then you guys can argue out using the liquid fuel dollars.
Considering our, yeah.
Well, whatever, all right. Anything else you need from us, Jamie?
I'm just next, so that's why.
Oh, keep going, Jamie. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So the other thing we're gonna do tonight quickly is just go over the scope of services for 2023. So obviously we had our first public hearing, so that means we're starting the 2023 application prep. So every year we like to bring you this scope of services prior to getting too far into it, go over with you, and then we don't actually have you sign the actual professional services agreement until we get your contract for 2023. So flip to the back page, you can see that the total fee is $50,000. That's what it's been for the last couple of years. It hasn't changed. We're basically doing the same work. Everything has stayed status quo. I can go over it each thing, or I can just ask if you have any questions. I think I provided it last week in case you can take a look at it. Like I said, nothing really new. Maybe DCD keeps adding things to do, and we just keep doing it for the same amount of money.
I think everyone good?
If you look over it, over the next couple months, and you have anything comes up, just let me know. Like I said, this is just for your information at this time, so you know what to expect when we activate your contract next year. You'll know what it's gonna be. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That'd be convenient, yeah.
You did.
All right, sorry, don't remember. All right, moving on, sweep update.
Hey everybody, just a couple things regarding street. Recently, the Northumberland County Department of Public Safety has assigned a 911 street address for Sunbury Wetland Ecological Education Park. The physical address is 222 North 6th Street. That's important for like 911 reasons, in case of an emergency, and plus we were having issues getting things delivered there for us, or volunteers finding the location. Next one is on August 3, I just passed Scout Troop 3, which has been involved for the past several years with the project. They recently received the 2023 Scouts BSA Conservation Award from the Northumberland County Conservation District for all their efforts on creating the park for the public. So I thought that was good to recognize that you are aware about that. Awesome. All right, and then one request that we have is we reached out to Cool Tools, which is through Lowe's, and we can request some tools to be donated to us, but we need to have a letter showing our pocket status for the city.
Who?
I don't think we need to vote on
All right, we'll get you that letter, Kurt.
Okay. Other than
Is there anything particular in the letter?
No, they just need something showing proof of the nonprofit status.
Okay, we'll get you that letter.
All right, thanks.
Yep, thank you, Kurt. All right, moving on, old business, Councilman Barnhart.
Final subdivision plan and drive, Mr. Thomas from MacTech, did you?
Yeah, I think Mike, you have the plans, if
Yep.
anybody would want to look at them,
I
but.
wanted to ask, I have the plans here if you guys are interested in looking at the plans.
You guys are familiar with it, the planning commission recommended conditional approval. The only condition that remains is zoning item number 2 of MacTech's letter dated July 4th, 2023, which states that they're going to put together a cross easement and maintenance agreement. That'll be provided, myself, Mike, and Jules for review. So our office of the planning commission recommends decision approval on that item.
Need a motion for conditional approval.
They're looking for
I'd like a motion from the council for conditional.
Second.
Barnhart.
Yes.
Martina.
Yes.
Ister.
Yes. That was, okay, keep going, Councilman Barnhart.
Final land development plan, 1043 South Front Street. Mike?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Councilman Barber. I do have plans here for that also if you're interested. Haven Ministry is doing their improvements and expansion down at the current location. They're adding 19 additional apartments there. All the proper entities, 9 additional, bringing up to 19, excuse me. All the proper entities have approved Northumberland County Planning. City Planning did approve on the 27th with the condition that the improvement and financial security agreement would be reviewed and approved by Joel, which it has been since then. So we're free state there, and it also has been approved by the Sunbury Municipal Authority, water, sewer, and flood. So barring your request or barring your approval, Mr. Bogovich, who is our consulting engineer for this project, do you have any comments on this?
I'm just here to answer any questions that council may have. We've had everything for the financial security agreement, service agreement in place, not putting so much contingency in it, or we could be considered for approval to file a I make the motion to accept the final land development plan.
Second.
Martina.
Yes.
Oshie.
Yes.
Ister, sorry. Barnhart.
Yes.
Moving on, new business, hiring of the administrative assistant. We had interviews, I believe, like 3 weeks ago for the administrative assistant up front. We decided to go with Robin Garinger from the code office. So I make the motion to hire Robin Garinger as administrative assistant at her current pay rate with her everything staying the same. She's just transferring offices. Do I have a second?
Also, is it the same amount as what the assistant? No, it's what she's.
Ister. Oshie.
Yes.
Barnhart.
Yes.
Martina.
Yes.
City clerk contract, as we know, we just recently hired Jeff from the code office to be our new city clerk. Obviously, he has taken on more responsibility and also, as we budgeted for the pay increase. So I spoke with Jeff, I got with Joel to create, we'll call it a probationary contract that involves evaluations after 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, along with pay increases to get him up to where the current salary will be coming into 2024, along with obviously his job duties that he has to entail that we voted upon previously to be the job duties of the city clerk. So I make the motion for this city clerk contract for the probationary period. Do I have a second?
Martina.
Yes.
Oshie.
Yes.
Ister. Barnhart.
Yes.
All right, moving on to comprehensive plan citizen participation. So I believe last week, or two, well, not last week, excuse me, last meeting or 2 meetings ago, we discussed the number of people we had it on. Now we're at the point where Mr. Backer said we need to make a decision on who we will be appointing to that board, committee, whatever you want to call it as. So I know last time we discussed having everyone who submitted their letter of interest be a part of that board. Is everybody still in favor of having, I know they recommended, was it 18? And we have 24, 25?
It would be 24. yes.
24, I mean, it's only additional 6 people. I don't have an issue having those 6 additional people on, considering we're paying the company for the services, not the other way around.
Do we want to go that way? I know they also reached out and said about having an additional like subcommittee, or do you just want to do one across?
I would
the
do
board?
one across the board because, I mean, it's only, I guess if we had 30, okay, but it's only 6, and, you know, some of the other people from the other organizations don't even live in the city, while some of these people who may be being, we'll say lack of terms, cheated out because there's too many live in the city. So I mean, additional 6, I don't have an issue with that. So, if they choose to do something on their own, that's up to them, but they have the choice to be on there.
I just know that they were at National Night Out and they reached out about doing some different things, so
Yeah.
I just wondered if we.
I mean, maybe once the committee is formed, if they want to have subcommittees with
Then they
trying to
go
get
from
more,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'll make the motion to accept all the individuals that put their names in, along with all the other entities, individuals, to be on the comprehensive plan citizen participation. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Brochus.
Yes.
Barnhart.
Abstain.
Martina.
Yes.
Major.
All right, moving on, letter of interest for Board of Appeals as the Harbor Board. Alan Bubb put his letter of interest in, so I make the motion to appoint him to both of those boards. Do I have a second?
Barnhart.
Yes.
Martina.
Yes.
Brochus.
Yes.
Ister.
Letter of interest for Civil Service Commission. We have a letter of interest from Robert L. Pear Jr. to be part of the Civil Service Commission. Do I have a second to appoint him?
I'll second.
Ister. Brochus.
Yes.
Barnhart.
Yes.
Martina.
Yes.
Hiring of Code Enforcement Clerk Councilman Barnhart.
I make the motion to hire Stephanie Brown for code enforcement clerk, pending her background checks and on a 90-day probation period.
All right. I second.
Martina.
Yes.
Ister. Brochus.
Yes.
Barnhart.
Yes.
Sorry, I added the 2 additions at the. Sorry, can I jump in just for a second?
Do you have a salary you want to pay her?
I,
Hourly rate.
Hourly rate?
now, hourly rate, we're gonna start out at $15.50 an hour, pending the probation. And, oh, no, I'm sorry, the clerk was 14.
$14.50 for the clerk. Got it. Make that. All right, so I'll make. Oh, sorry.
I make that a motion, 14.50 starting salary.
For the code clerk. I second.
Martina.
Yes.
Ister. Brochus.
Yes. All right.
Barnhart.
Yes.
All right. So the DPW part-time workers. No, I added. I'm sorry. I added it. I added that at the
He
bottom.
has another one under.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. I was jumping ahead.
I make a motion to hire Code Enforcement Officer Joyce Snyder, pending background checks for 90-day probation period at a starting salary of $15.50 an hour.
Second.
Martina.
Yes.
Ister. Brochus.
Yes.
Barnhart.
Yes.
All right. Councilman Martina.
I would like to hire 2 part-time, 1 provisional, hire for, does he say Dropper?
Draper.
Draper, I was gonna say it different, I feel bad, I apologize when he hears this. Draper Bug and Charles Bruce Wash.
Second. What was that? Yeah, money's in the budget.
Ister. Brochus.
Yes.
Barnhart.
Yes.
Martina.
Yes.
All right. Sorry. Keep going, Councilman Martina.
I'm asking for approval for I'm gonna lump them all in.
That's fine.
Actually, I'm gonna go back, I'm sorry. We're changing the road closure process. I'm making a motion that we put that down in DPW with Steve. We've already discussed it. He's gonna work on those road closure procedures.
Nope, that's fine.
You're ready? Okay. I think I need.
Do we need a motion to do that? or
Motion to vote on that one?
That's a heads up.
That's a heads up, that's what we're doing. I need my vote on road closures for the Arts Festival in September 9/9/23, the October Fall Festival for 10/21, and the Halloween parade road closures.
Second.
And I do believe the Halloween parade's the normal route. Steve?
I believe so.
Okay.
Barnhart.
Yes.
Martina.
Yes.
Ister. Brochus.
Yes. I'm taking over for Councilman Reicher tonight for request of exoneration of city taxes there. Do I have a second for those exonerations?
Barnhart.
Yes.
Martina.
Yes.
Ister. Brochus.
Yes. Approval of vouchers and invoices from the general fund of $106,684.73. 0 from liquid fuels, private grants of $26,320.51, and payroll of $80,720.07. Do I have a second?
Second.
Brochus.
Yes.
Barnhart.
Yes.
Martina.
Yes.
Ister.
Moving on to discussion items, UTV municipal plates. I'm gonna turn this over to the chief real quick because this isn't his purview.
Yeah, so there's a couple questions about the UTVs being run around the city. So I spoke with Fish and Game, talked to them about how the UTVs can be registered correctly for the city. We can get limited tags for those, which means they can only be driven on city property. And the city owns the city, so the city, they can pretty much run them everywhere except state roads, which is Front, Fourth, and Market, Countervista. So I mean, it can cross and do certain things as long as they're actively working. And I know the public was gonna say, well, then we can get limited plates. That doesn't apply to them. If you wanna get a limited plate for your UTV, you are more than welcome to. You can drive around in circles in your backyard. So this covers the city liability wise, just puts tax on people so we can keep our track.
All right. So we get in the process of getting them.
Yeah, Steve's actually working on it. I gave him all the information. He's gonna take care of it since he was in the spirit of the project.
All right. Sounds good. Any other questions on that, anyone? All right. Moving on. Meeting transition program. I know Jeff and I were talking about, obviously, you know, for tonight's council meeting, we have to obviously make the minutes for planning zoning committee. So obviously someone has to take the time to type up those minutes. We want to look into if there's an option of a program. Obviously it's recording that we can just plug it in. It transcribes it, you know, instantaneously for us, rather than having an employee take hours upon hours trying to physically type everything out, making sure they get it word for word. Obviously we want to make sure this is a cost-effective way. You know, if a program costs $10,000, obviously we're not going to do it, but if it's something that is going to save taxpayer dollars from someone sitting there trying to type all day, we just want to look into different options. We just want to let everyone know we'd like to do that. Does anyone have any input, questions, or anything like that?
I don't know.
Why was that?
I don't know.
You know any particular programs that we could look into, or?
County use anything? County use anything?
We do the documents. We did. The documents.
Okay,
I'll see if I can find out.
thank you. Appreciate that, thank you. Jim, you said you were good?
Watch what he's doing. Yeah.
Before we get you there, type.
There's a lot, that's why we look at that.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that works. We'll look into a couple, and hopefully they're affordable for us to use and go that route. All right, moving on, Councilman Barnhart, you have next two.
Going to have code officer communication training, Lisa Fleer, volunteer services at no cost, better communication skills to dealing with the public. I'd like to open that training to anybody else in the city, any other city employee, whether it's a police officer or DPW like Steve there, if he wants to communicate better. So if anybody, any other city employee, if you suggest to come down, I'll set up an date at a later time, and I'll let everybody know.
Awesome, thank you, John.
And the update job description for code enforcement officer, supervisor, pretty much it's all right. I just like to revamp it a little bit and add some to it.
Not bad. Hey, times are ever changing,
And
so
I'll
we.
make sure everybody in the council reads it, get their opinion.
Okay, buddy, I'll get somebody on.
Anyone else? All right, announcements. We are accepting letters of interest to fill the vacant 3-year term of the Board of Appeals in Harb. One, to fill the 3-year term of civil service. Please submit all interest letters to the city clerk.
I think that's done there.
Oh, service. Oh, okay. So minus the civil service. Everything else
Is
is.
there another one in the park or do you want 3 years for the park?
Oh, so we're good? So all we need is Board of Appeals. All right, all these Board of Appeals. Correction. All right, diversity, equity, inclusion, multicultural food truck fest and barbecue will be taking place at the John L. Longfield on Saturday, August 26th, starting at 12 p.m. and going till who knows when. Depending how long the food lasts and the music goes, right, Andres? Moving on, there will be an employee food clinic on October 10th from 9 to 12 here at City Hall in the first floor conference room. Contact Jeff for more information. Yeah, and it's, so he said they'll open it to the public. Just have to let us know by the 30th of September so they can prepare. The next council meeting will be held at City Hall here on August 28th at 6:15. Now, is there any public comment at this time? Please state your name, sir.
Clay Shrek, I'd just like to remind everybody, there were festivals this weekend, up on 4th Street. Valley Got Talent Thursday night, down at the high school in the auditorium. Come see Francis Judge. It's not good, but come watch it.
I thought he was performing this year.
Let's thought about it.
But he didn't make the cut, though.
I didn't make that. And then Friday and Saturday will be up on North 4th Street. Basically, just where Sunbury celebration was, will be the River Festival.
Thank you, Slade.
Yep.
Any other public comment at this time? Please state your name, ma'am.
Deborah Betts. I have a couple questions. I just want to know how much our assistant city
Could you
clerk
come up
made.
here and but I can't
Sure.
hear you. Thank you, Deb.
I'm just, how much did the city clerk make the assistant prior to quit?
The previous one, Sierra,
Yeah.
she was at 15 and some change. I don't know the exact
An
number.
hour.
Yeah.
And she was part-time, right?
No, she was
No, she was
full-time.
full-time?
She was originally at part-time, then
And can I ask how much the,
current one,
yeah,
Robin will be making $14.79.
so it's run the same, basically?
Yes.
And how much would it cost for transcriptions?
We,
How much is
like I
it?
said,
We
we're
don't
looking,
have-
we,
oh,
like I
we're
said,
looking for-
yeah, we didn't have a
we're
number, we're
looking
just,
for bids.
yeah, we're just looking to see what options are out there, if they're affordable options.
And my last question is, I can't wrap my mind around some of the things that I just read in the paper, and I'm assuming they're true, that why 2 people, Josh, you, and Jason Bendo, would make decisions for the taxpayers of the city and can lie or hide information from those of us who are responsible for the monies that are waived. So I'm confused, is that supposed to be voted on, or is that?
So if you would like to see the email conversation, you can see the email conversations that took place between us. I stated in the email conversations how, what he was asking for, I said, that is not my department, I need to speak to Councilman Barnhart, because that, the
So
problem.
were those fees waived,
Yes, they were waived.
and who waived them?
I spoke with Councilman Barnhart, he asked me my input, I gave my 2 cents, trying to say, this is the school district, a taxing body, this is taxpayer dollars, we do.
So, but as the mayor, isn't it your responsibility to kind of know that that's something that needed to be voted on? And it wasn't voted on at all.
Well, there's other fees that are waived throughout the city, not just that one, there's whether it's a $50 fee to rent the park or whatever, that have never been voted upon here at any of these meetings, so
How
I
much
was
money
just,
are we talking in question?
at the time, at the current rate, I believe was $24,000.
That's a lot of money, that's different than $50 though, Josh.
Well,
Is this something that was brought to the attention of
I brought
the
it,
whole city council?
I brought it to Councilman Barnhart.
You can't
I'm
blame that.
just telling you what I did. I'm not saying what you're right or I'm wrong. I'm just explaining.
No, I'm just.
You asked me what I did, and I explained
because
it.
it makes it sound like the big item is not telling the truth.
I did not say
But
that.
that's how it's coming across.
Well,
Because you're saying, well, let us read the.
Well, I'll let you read it. I'll let you read it. I'm not saying Francis did anything wrong, so don't even put those words in my mouth. I'm just saying you asked me what happened. I'll let you read the email conversations if you'd like to see them. I'm not
So it
hiding
says nothing
anything.
in there about, don't let the public know.
He asked me what do you want me to do? I said if you could let the board know in the executive session. That's exactly what I
You didn't
said.
say anything at all in that email stating that, don't let the public know, don't let this out.
As I just said, I said let it. He asked what do you want me to do? I said if you could let the board know in the executive session, and obviously that doesn't really matter at this point anymore. But like I said, if you want to see the email conversation back and forth, I will happily give them to you because when the daily item asked me, I happily turn them over because I have nothing to hide.
And there was no discussion with the city council other than Mr.
That is correct.
Barnhart,
Like I
that
said,
you guys shouldn't vote on it or should vote on it. I mean, $24,000, Josh, is a
Well,
lot more than $50.
I'm not disagreeing with you, but I'm just saying I'm going off of past practice. Like, for example, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, or Mike, correct me if I'm wrong here, because I believe I asked you gentlemen this question with the municipal authority and their project that they did down there. Did we not waive their fees as well?
Was it voted on? Or did
We
one
never, I
person
mean,
make
like
a
I said,
decision?
go back through the meeting minutes, there was never a vote upon that, so that's,
How much money was that?
like I said, I don't know off the top of my head. I did not, I just asked if we've done this in the past, and it was yes, and I asked for examples, I was given examples, and that's what I went with the information.
But let me add to the municipal authority. Probably 18 years, 20 years ago, they built a new, sewer plant. There was an agreement made between the municipal authority and the City of Sunbury. We waived the fees, but we no longer pay for water and sewer for life and dumping fees. So for the last 20 years, I'd say, we haven't paid water and sewer, we don't pay for
Was
dumping.
the whole city council aware of what was going on at that time, or
Oh
just
my
one
goodness,
person?
yes. That was a big decision. But the problem was, let's say in those days, we would have got 30,000, guessing. I'm not sure, I think it was a $23 million project. It might have been a lot more than that, I'm not sure of the number, but the fact was, we made the decision that time to work with the authority with the understanding that we used to pay water and sewer, we used to take and pay, of course, for transfer, the dumping fees. We don't do that anymore. That was agreement back in those days, but it was a decision between the board members of the authority and the City of Sunbury Council and the mayor.
Okay. Well, that's what that's
Well,
why
I apologize, I was
confused.
10 years old at the time, was really in the
Well,
politics.
no,
then,
but you
but-
can't apologize for that for 10 years ago, but I'm talking about now, Josh. It's like, well, that's a lot of money, are we responsible
So,
as
once again,
taxpayers?
okay, but
Are we responsible as
no,
taxpayers?
that waiving of fees did not
Did not
cost
cost
taxpayers any money at all, $0.
So wait a second.
We did
Wait,
not.
how are we waiving the fees, then why are we responsible for waiving the fees? If it doesn't cost us anything,
It was
we
money-
don't gain anything.
It does cost us.
So did we physically pay out $24,000?
Somebody's gonna pay for it. And does this now?
No, because that was our portion of the permitting fee.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the first thing I asked, is this costing any money? And
It's like you just stepped in, NIC gets a percentage of the permit. And on top of that, a 30% administrative fee, along with a $4.50 state fee is added to that permit. The only thing that city waived was the 30% administrative fee. That is it. They still paid the NIC bill and the state bill.
All right, so the city lost.
Yes.
We waived the
So the
30,
city lost money. Is that what you said,
yes.
correct? Now, does this also set precedents for any other company or person or business in Sunbury to just have their fees waived? I mean, how does that work?
I mean, I'm not sure, but going back, as Councilman Ister said, 20 years ago, when that technically set the precedents back then, waiving those fees, because, as a taxing body, like I said, I thought, this is my own opinion, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but, as a school district, like I said, there's like
But
relationship.
you're also part of that school district, so you should not have even had the liberty of voting on it, if there was a vote, because it would have
That's
been a
why
conflict of
I did not make
interest.
the decision, I wouldn't say I solely make the decision. I
Well,
went to
it's not John
Councilman.
Barnhart that made that
Wait a
decision.
minute,
Am I correct?
he brought it up, I entertained the idea, and I said, it sounds like a good idea. I didn't realize it wasn't gonna be voted on either.
Well, I thought he would.
Maybe I shouldn't have assumed, but I assumed it was gonna be brought up to council for a vote.
Right,
So
which
that's-
should have been, right?
That's, well,
Well,
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's a couple of problems. Here you have the superintendent, which is his boss technically,
right, that's what I'm saying, he should
asking
have
an
been,
employee for something like this. I know he's the mayor, but I think it just, that's a little,
he should not have been involved in any of
little
it.
iffy thing.
I'm just gonna say this, I'm not bringing my employer into this situation.
Oh, it's been brought up.
Well, like I said,
Wait till we come back.
well, like I said, I'm not saying what he did was right or wrong. Like I said, you can see the emails. If you want them, I'll happily give them
Yeah,
to
I
you.
think you should kind of
Okay.
distribute those to the people that come to
Oh,
city council, just
okay.
let me know. I mean, because it seems to be a complete different aspect of what the paper is telling us.
I think,
And the journalist, and I kind of believe the journalist and what he's saying.
Joel, I think.
I'm not saying, right, I'm the one who gave them to him. Like, I'm not saying he did it, I'm the one who gave them
It's
to him.
copy and pasted exactly what he's saying, it was in the newspaper, just copy.
Yeah, so it does come out and say, don't tell the public.
He basically just says that don't say anything so that other people don't ask for the request.
I said-
And when you
And
do
then
that,
we'll say
that
yes.
automatically makes you look like you're being cheated, and that's not good. You know,
That
if you're
wasn't
telling
his
people,
intent.
don't tell the public,
But-
it just makes us look bad, you know what I mean, it makes you look bad.
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm gonna upset half the people, make the other half happy. So, like I said, I thought I was doing the right thing for the school district, but I guess not. So
But you
Slade,
also
moving on, I
have-
guess, as we said, don't ask for any more favors, not favors, any more breaks. I thought we were trying to save taxes.
You're really not.
I didn't say favors, I said,
In the best interest of the city and the people that pay taxes here. That's what you should be worried about. And now we have to worry about the next person who might come along.
well,
that
we
might
should have worried about
not
that
be-
20 years ago, we made a deal with the
30
authority
years
also
ago.
ago.
Wait a second, wait a minute.
Listen, I wanna move on from this.
No, I don't.
I think it
wanna
needs to
clarify
be-
something.
Okay, let's clarify.
That deal was made 20 years ago, we got something back in return.
And the whole city council knew about it and discussed it.
20 years ago, did the council know today that we waived the fees down there on an agreement that took place 20 years ago?
Did you ask?
Oh, did you ask about this? Did you ask beforehand today that, hey, the permitting fees, are we gonna waive them or not? Then you didn't bring it up, and I didn't bring that up.
Josh, if you're asking for this to be kept quiet, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good for you. It makes it look like you're doing something shady, and then $24,000 is a lot of money.
I think there's bigger issue here. You're an employee of the school district.
Yes, it's a conflict of
You
interest.
as an employee of the school district.
I can't help
This
what
whole
that
thing
man
should,
did. Like,
no, you could have handed that right over to Derek Backer.
well, correct me if I'm wrong, Joel, did not the superintendent in the past deal with Mr. Backer on different issues?
That's my understanding.
So, once again, I went to Councilman Barr. I did not make the decision. He
But
thought
as soon
we
as
were
you
under
get
two
that-
different understandings, which that happens with
As
conversations.
soon as you get that email, you couldn't have said, hey Derek, this is a position that I can't be involved in. It's a conflict of interest. I need you to take care of this. Is that something you could not have done?
All you gotta do is abstain from the right.
Yes. Joel does it all the time. You know, I just
The
felt.
other sad part about it, we're only part of the district. There's a lot of other entities involved.
And how are they gonna feel when they find out we gotta dish out $24,000?
Well, I'm not dishing out, we're just turning it, it's more than 24,000, I'm not sure the exact number.
And now whoever wants to have their stuff waived after this can say, hey, wait a minute, you waived it from the school, so you have to waive it for me. It's setting precedents.
But I don't think this is a done deal, trust me.
Okay, I hope it's not. I really do. But thank you for letting me talk, and thank you for answering my question.
You're welcome. Please state your name, ma'am.
Pat Hockman, been listening to all this. I've been, very many levels in private business. What's done is done. I would strongly suggest the decision was made when what people thought happened in the past or not. Why don't we just take a step back and look and say, okay, going forward, let's set a procedure for these type of requests. Yet, say, hey, the email would come to you and say, hey, you know what, we now have a procedure, fill out a formal request, we'll present it to the council, and it'll get voted on. Rather than keep rehashing something that's happened or something that's happened 20 years ago, why don't we just be more proactive, set a procedure up, and then no one can come back and say, oh, well, now I want this fee because you did it for so-and-so. Say, yes, we did, but since then, we have now developed a procedure. this is how we'll move forward.
There is a procedure. Well, the only problem with that is, two people can't make a decision for it. It takes three.
Well, that's why I said, that's why you make a formal procedure
It
that's
is
going to
that's
go
already a
to.
formal procedure, that's already there.
It
So,
wasn't followed.
you know,
Well,
I don't know.
obviously, people didn't think it was there if they were
it's
asking,
absolutely
No,
there.
they knew
Because
it was
everybody's
there.
seen it.
if they were looking at the
Every
past.
vote, everything was at least 3 votes. Affirmative. Everything was a stamp. You can't, two people can't make a decision.
But it was just discussed here that there were other ones besides the one 20 years ago that were done without
And that
votes
one
too.
was done with,
That-
with council knowing what was going on. and
Right.
There was a direct benefit from it.
But there were some other
Are
ones
we still
referred
paying, are we still
to,
paying for water? No, right.
but there was other ones that were referred to
Like
that
what?
weren't voted on.
Well, what the waiving of the supplemental part is what the government really fees for, applied for the sizes of that down here. $27,000 is a lot of money to lose.
I know, that's what I'm saying, maybe something
Now,
more
for a school
formal,
district,
that all
$51
members of this
million.
board now understand that this is how it's going to be done. Because obviously, it wasn't clear to some of the members.
Well, I'm pretty sure the members know that at least 3 votes to do something. And $51 million budget, losing $27,000.
No, you're not getting what I'm saying, so
I do.
let's just.
I understand.
Any other public comment? Please state your name.
Victoria Rosencrantz. I was trying to keep this under the hat until I had more information. However, our friends in Clarktown threw us under the bus and my phone's been ringing off the hook. I did follow up with Joel. Unfortunately, we received a letter from Lake Tobias that they are no longer providing beer. Okay? So that means they're, at this time, we do not have beer for Cameron Park. However, I have a plan B. And I'm working on that right now. I reached out to Joel, he gave me permission to call PA Agriculture because I do have a farm that's willing to work with us. Number one, is still willing to pay for that. My concern is that it will be an actual reindeer, and I need to make sure that the space in our pen is big enough for the reindeer, because when I had the display last Christmas, the agriculture had to come out and approve exactly where I sat them. So I need to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So unfortunately, my phone's been blowing up because Clarktown put out that us and the surrounding communities, which means us and everybody knows where we get our deer. So therefore, my phone's been ringing off the hook. So hang tight, folks. Santa's working on it. We'll hopefully have deer in the park. If not, I'll get creative.
They'll let us know like how big, plenty of time
Yes,
to make
that's
the
why I'm
dimension
calling.
changes.
So
Okay.
they're probably gonna have to maybe be a dimension change to the deer pen because of the antlers, and then also where they sit. Because when they came for the parade, they wanted them on the path. So we might end up having to move them down to the roundabout or something like that. I don't know, but I wanna make sure we have it all. Let you folks look at it and make sure we're on the up and up with all of that, and we're not having PA Agriculture reading down our necks.
Jeff, how long you're gonna be there?
What's that?
How long?
I would like to keep it the same way. Keep it the same way, yeah. We definitely can't get deer from where I got them last time because they're $600 an hour. And Lake Fest can't sustain that bill from the middle of November until the end of December, so, but.
If you can, good for you.
Yeah, no, I can't. I'd rather buy some more lights this year. So anyway, so just so you know, in case you hear that through the grapevine, I was trying to keep it here till we had our ducks in a row. But anyway, so right to know officer will be updated at some time, right? Or was that already, it has to be voted on, right?
I think it's still there for now,
Yes.
so Jeff gets fully on board, and then
Okay, because it still says Joel and that on the website.
I'll go to get that changed.
Okay. Mr. Barnhart, ATV ordinance, is that something you're still working on, or is that on your? ATV ordinance for not riding in yards in some areas, is something you're working on or didn't get to yet? Or?
Working with the police on that.
Okay.
right now.
People keep asking me about that. I just have one, I hate to come back to the whole $24,000, but I have one question. I'm not gonna rehash what Deb said. I just wanna know, okay, so the conversation happened, the work started down there. So those permits would have been for what? The construction of the site down there and all of that? Is that what those permits would have been? So if we didn't know if the permits were waived or what, so how did the work begin if they got the permits, right? They physically have paper permits down there?
Correct.
So where did that approval come from? To give them the permits?
I don't know when it, like I said, our conversation took place early June. I know construction took place early June. I don't know the exact dates of when everything took place without actually seeing when ground was broken and permits were issued and all that. I don't know about looking at
That
the
goes through the third party.
And
Okay, so then NEIC got permission to give this permit, right?
They decide.
They
We don't give
decide.
them, they decide. We don't give them permission.
But who asked for the money?
That's a good question.
So NEIC, like I said, I don't know when the billing took place. NEIC had their portion, we had their portion. They need to, obviously they need to pay NEIC. They're asking for forgiveness for our portion. But like I said, regardless, as Mike said, it's a, what's the percentage? 30%. So who do they, like I said, they write their portion to NEIC, then their portion to the city. And like I said, I don't know when the exact dates were of those permits off the top of my head.
So what I'm just asking is, I'm just confused how construction started, they were given permits, but if the fees were waived, who gave the permission for the permit? So you're saying the third party made that decision?
Mrs. Brokeback, I believe I catch what you're saying here. If you don't mind, the application was reviewed, approved, and the school district was called with the fee of the permit, which was $50-some thousand, I believe. 56. So from there, Mr. Bendel, I believe that's his name, had a question on the fees. At that time, I said to him, I said, I cannot, that's way above my pay grade. You would have to talk to mayor and city council on any relief or discounts that is given. From there, then Josh explained and Councilman Barnhart explained what the process occurred.
I'm still not getting my answer.
Well, the district still paid 30-some thousand to NEIC. That entitled them to get their permits.
So what was the 24,000?
That was the city's part
That's
of
the
the
city
fee.
portion of.
So out of the total 56,000, the school district had to pay NEIC
Okay.
30-plus thousand.
So the fee.
And then the city waived the 24,000.
That's all I was asking, just wondering how permits were handed out if they weren't paid.
Did the school board know that?
About the whole conversation? We can't comment on that.
Oh.
School board meetings tomorrow night, just.
We had one Thursday.
Oh, thank you, Council, I appreciate it.
Please state your name.
Lindy Lloyd. I'm going to make it short and sweet because I really being up here this morning. I know you feel like you're being bombarded, and I'm sure you know what question I'm going to ask because as soon as I file the right to know, I know I'm going to ran and told everyone. But so I'm just curious. So I know that the city voted on giving you $10,000, letting you use $10,000 to kick
It
off.
was 15, not 10.
No, it was 10,000 out of the economic development fund. That's
Okay,
what's
but
in the minutes, and 5,000 out of the marketing.
So that's a total of 15.
Yeah, but I'm only concerned about the economic development fund. So that's why I put that in that one. So I was just curious, so when was the next meeting that they voted on to give you more money out of that economic development fund?
There was, and like I said, those funds are the ones that, the 15 total, were the ones that we got voted upon. Now, I know what you're referring to because in there it says 19,000, correct?
It does, well, I know you were prepared for this, because I know you already knew.
I know
But
it's,
you used $19,060 out of the economic development fund.
so, whole story now, that said it was 19, so 15 altogether. Now, the 5, just let me continue,
I
please.
didn't say anything.
But you were gonna interrupt, so I went in, I know what assumptions do to people. So, the 19,000 that you're referring to, because once I got sent the spreadsheets from the treasurer's office, I'm like, hey, can you sit down and explain these to me, because I'm confused how to read these. So we had 19, that I used 19 out of the economic development account. In the other account that they created for the event, there was a positive of $6,000, okay? So I'm like, okay, so I used 15, but you'll say 10, So I'm like, all right, so I had the 6 that we generated in the positive and the 19, which is from the 15, so I was 4 over in there. So transfer the 4 over from the 19 to make it 15 that I used.
Well, I know how to read the spreadsheet, you didn't have to explain it to me. But there
Well,
was also another spreadsheet that was for your marketing, and that's where the $5,000 was used from. So don't forget about that money.
Okay, so Lindy, so what's your question? I don't know where we're getting at.
So
What's
my
your
question is how are you allowed to, when they approved 10,000, how are you allowed to make that decision? Now, Kevin's not here to defend himself, but he shouldn't have been making that decision. How are you allowed to, it was voted on for you to use 10,000 out of the Economic Development Fund. You used 19,000 without that being voted on. So you used almost double what was voted on. I mean, how is that there? First of all, I mean,
I'm questioning my ethics. Is that what you're doing right now? Are you questioning what I did?
I'm questioning what you did.
You're questioning what I did.
I want to know how, to me, I mean, that just feels like something a little shady.
So what are you accusing me of so I can know what exactly the answer is?
You're not answering my question.
Okay, how did I do it? Because I continued to try to fundraise money to get this event happen. Do you know what the total cost of the event was for that day? Do you know what it was?
So
I'm asking you.
How much money did you make off
How much money did I make off the event? If you look at the spreadsheet that we have for overall, for all the money that allotted from council, the money we brought in sponsorship, the money we got for grant money, we brought in a total of, I have it down in the office, of, I believe, of $36,000, and I think the event itself was around 34, 35, according to the spreadsheet that I have, having the numbers that we got in the funds, what we spent in funds.
That's not according to the spreadsheet that
And did Kevin give you, now let me ask you a question.
No, I filed the right to.
I know you
and
did.
You know who that, I know because
And
immediately when
wait, whose name was on the right to know request? So I know, but who did you ask for? It'd been nice if someone asked me, hey, can I have all your information that you have so I could have given you and I could have happily. I'm not getting upset because you're accusing me of shady activity. Well, that's okay. You're accusing me of shady activity.
My question is, how do you plan on recouping the funds that you took out of there? The bottom line is, you were approved to use $10,000, you used 19, and you did that without approval. Yes or no? Yes or no? Just say yes or no. Just yes or no.
Okay, no, I did not. But if you also look at every other line item that goes over or under in the budget, that's not approved of. If you, hold on, let me finish. If you go through the budget, the entire budget, you will see different line items where we're over or under. We do not come to council for approval when we go over those budget items. And I don't see you here questioning those items. And if you look at the end of the year, when the whole 12-year budget is over, you will see line items where we're over and where we're under, and across the board.
I'm questioning this because I wasn't in favor of the whole using economic development funds.
So what should we have used it for the city then, if you weren't in favor of, hold on, let me finish here, having an event that brought thousands of people into Sunbury? Ask your dad, because he had a stand down there, and I asked every single stand.
I could give you a list.
Hold on, I'm not finished. I asked, how did they do? They said they made a ton of money, just like every other vendor. Multiple nonprofits came in and got volunteers that didn't even know their nonprofits exist. For example, the Shade Tree Commission that was just started here to kick off this year. They set up a tent down there, bringing their information. They got volunteers from the city.
I don't recall asking you about any of that.
I'm trying to explain the purpose behind the event and what I was trying to do.
I know about the event, what you were trying to do. The bottom line is you used money out of the economic development funds that you was not approved to use. You're giving me all kinds of excuses,
You
all
asked
kinds
what
of
the point of the
reasons about
event was.
no.
Okay, I'll let you go.
But Lindy,
That's not what I said. I asked, you were approved to use so much, and you used almost double what you were approved without.
I think there's some mistake was made, bills were coming in, and we have a good policy when vendors need payment, we pay the bills. Granted, he ran over, he personally did run over, when they were paying the bills, they paid the bills, that's where the overage was. Now, but I know after the event was over, a lot of bills were paid, there was still money coming in, there's commitments made, donations, let's say $1,000. They were coming in weeks after the fact.
So you're telling me Kevin's printouts, like he just gave me the law.
No, I didn't say that. I'm saying how they ran over, I think, was the bills being paid. Of course, it wasn't enough donations in the pot, So they use them out of that line item, and then reimburse that line item back, is what's
Okay,
happening.
but none of that is in the right to know. None of that is listed in the printout. Shouldn't all of that be accessible to the public if they want to
But
know?
I don't know what he gave you, I have no idea, but what I'm getting at isn't that there was bills being paid because they had to be paid, and money came in after the fact and put money back in the
So if
pot.
I file another right to know, they'll be updated with all that money.
I can't tell you what Kevin's gonna give you.
Yeah, I think if you, depending on how you, yes, the simple answer is yes, he should give you all the information.
Well, he just gave it to me. He
Okay.
just gave it to me.
Can I
so.
answer? I think, I think if you ask, again, you get all the information.
So if I ask again, I'm gonna get a different printout, which also seems.
Well, but I think he may not, I don't, if you have a copy of the printout, I can go back and tell you what date.
I do have it with me, but
Because as you notice on the agenda,
I
tonight,
see
there's
what's-
other things listed that are being approved in council. Some things that may have come out of special accounts that may not be on the sheet, okay, which would then be able to support the spending of the money. Okay, now the bills are paid, is it always brought before council? No, it is now. So I think, in all fairness, you know, what happened there, it ran over, but they also were getting donations back in.
okay, so that money should be back in the economic development fund.
Well,
I don't know where
it
Treasurer
should-
Shute may put the funds. I don't know, you have to ask him that question.
If more money came out of economic development,
Because even if you take the profit of what came in for the private rates, and you subtract that from what was used,
what I'm saying
there's
to
still
you,
a loss.
what I'm saying to you is, yes, if they went over that, the money that we collect should go back into that.
So it still shows a loss, though, it doesn't show a profit. But no matter what, that's not even my question. My question was, how were you able to do that without, you were approved to use a certain amount, and you went almost $10,000 over that without the city council?
Mindy, I don't know. I'm sorry, it was wrong for whatever I did that you
That was
accusing
my
me of
only-
doing, and so
That was my only
if
question.
you
but
like,
I
how
just
would you
don't
like me to
understand.
spend the economic development funds in next year's budget? So I'm aware now, because obviously, you said you weren't in favor of
Are you
this.
comprehending what I'm saying?
No, obviously, I don't, I know, I just said it. I don't know how it happened. That's what I just said. That's my answer. Councilman Ister said how it could have happened, excuse me.
But they're talking about the private grants.
No, we're talking about the bills that come in, like,
He gave me three printouts. One was for private grants, that was all the money that was coming in from donations, from vendors, that was all the money that was going out for,
whatever it may have been.
and then there was one that was marketing, and it showed what came in and what came out. And then there was a third one that was just the economic development fund. There was no money that was coming in, so that was all money that went out. So even if you take everything that from that point up until the day I got that, which it should have been current because it has a current date on it, even if you take all the money that was coming in and the money that was coming out, which is what Jim was talking about, there's still money coming in, even if you take that, there's still a loss when you're looking at the economic development. And you still use $19,000 without permission. That's the bottom line. No matter how you want to spin it or what you want to say.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying,
Okay, well, it seems like you're trying to make every excuse
I
and.
just told, you asked me how it happened. I tried to explain how it happened. You didn't like the answer I gave you because you're trying to make me say something that you
I'm
want me
not
to
trying to
say.
make
Just
you say
because you're
anything. I'm
upset with me,
asking
that's
you
what it is. How come, do you go and ask the finances of all the other committees in the city of Sunbury? Did you ask for them? No. This event, you weren't happy with the event, you even said that. So guess what? Next year we don't. You just said, you just said, I wasn't in favor of it when we started this conversation.
No, I wasn't, no, that's not what I said. I said I wasn't in favor of using economic development money.
Okay, so what money do you
I did not say I
Okay,
was
here's
not
a
in
simple, we just don't have to have it
favor.
next year. That's okay, we don't have to have it. That's
Well,
okay.
it hasn't to you. I'm just.
Well,
asking
I didn't
about-
remember seeing you at the meetings helping fundraise or
Well,
help
that's
set
weird,
things
because I
up.
don't remember you announcing what the meetings were.
They were announced at every single council meeting. So what else do you want here, Lindy? Because,
I was asking you a question, you clearly got upset, you know that you were in the wrong, you shouldn't have.
okay, Lindy, can you just do me a favor? At the end of the year, can you come to the budget meeting at the very end of the year and please look at every single line item that we went over?
Why
Oh,
are you
hold
so
on, hold on,
upset?
hold on. I'm just asking you a question now. I'm asking if you can do something. So at the end of the year, please come to the last meeting of the year, request our budget, and look at every single line item and see where we're under and see where we're over, and then come explain to ask every single council person, why are you over in this line item? Did you come for council approval? Because
Do you want me to talk slower to you, or I was only concerned?
I know, you're concerned about this event. I know, you think I'm an idiot. If you don't like what I'm doing, Lindy, just run for my position. It's
I
okay.
was not concerned about the event, I was concerned about
The money,
the economic
yes,
development.
I understand
I
that.
said that like 50 times.
I
and you
understand.
keep
I know I'm not as
bringing it
smart
up.
as you. I apologize. I never will be. Is there anything else I can answer for you? Because clearly I can't answer that question for you.
I'm just such a good representative.
Hey, I appreciate your confidence in me. As I said, the election is in 2.5 years. If you think I'm not doing a good job, you can happily
I do
run.
think you're that.
Okay, that's okay. You can happily run. Thank you.
We're not gonna answer your questions.
I just did. How many
No,
times?
you didn't.
Okay, Linda.
I don't know, it's
I'll
not
run.
an answer.
Please state your name, ma'am.
Victoria Rosenkrantz. So I just want to
Please
come up
let
and
them answer the
explain,
question.
as a committee co-chair, okay, so the public knows that when those funds are going to the treasurer's office, those funds are there. As the Lake Fest co-chair, Kevin doesn't, when our monies go in there, it comes out on a sheet of paper, okay? And it's not line items for me. I have to keep track of what money's going in there. I have to keep track of my Dagenstein funds, my Rosenblum funds, all of this stuff. I just had Christmas in July, so my bills are still coming in, okay? So if I went to Kevin today and asked for a printout, my printout's not gonna be right either. So I just wanna clarify that committees, our funds go in there. It is the chair's responsibility to track your funds and know where your funds are, okay? So I don't want anybody to be like, oh my gosh, they don't know where their funds are in the treasurer's office. I know where every dollar is because I do the paperwork back to the grant people. I know where it all is. And it's just, it's not, could it be a better process? It could be. I think it could be, but I just take care of it myself. So the public knows that this committee is, the money's in, the city has it, and the chair should know where your money is. And again, I'm not getting in the middle of $19,000, but anyway, so.
Any other public comment at this time?
Yeah, I just
I'm just
want to,
explaining.
Please state your name, ma'am.
It's Debbie Batts, and we did, I was wondering what was exactly said, and from what I understand, Francis just copied and pasted it onto the paper, and it says, Brochus responded and asked Benno to not speak in public about waiving the fees. So others did not make the same request. Benno agreed and said he would not tell anyone. To me, that just doesn't sound good.
I will give you the email conversation.
That is what was copied.
I didn't say that wasn't what, I just said
I'm
I'll
just
give you the
saying,
conversation.
you made it sound like it wasn't shady, and it was being
I'll
shady.
give you the email conversation.
I would
I'm
like
going to
that.
see the entire thing.
I would like that. Thank you.
Any other public comment at this time? Oh. Please state your name.
Tammy Kunzman. I'm here, first of all, to let you know I am officially done doing business in the city of Sunbury, August 25th. I wanted to clear up any confusion that would have been going with my announcement that I have made on Facebook. It apparently is under the assumption by maybe a couple people that I did not do my due diligence. And so I wrote down exactly everything I've done with acquiring the new building.
Excuse me, before you go any further, I'm gonna let you know, I have all the evidence here tonight.
Okay.
If you're gonna get into this, we're gonna get into it.
Okay.
I have pictures of the before and after. I have everything you said about doing no work to the property. I have where you didn't get any of the requested permits. I have all the letters and emails sent to you requesting you do all this work over a period of, what, a year and a half or 2 years? You didn't do any of it.
Okay, the emails, okay, so we're gonna start with in 2022 when I paid for my occupancy.
Right, and when did you get in?
We officially opened February 22nd of 2022.
Right, and when did you pay for your occupancy? I believe it was 2/7 of 23.
No, because that would have been just this past February, and I've been there a lot longer.
Right.
So I also want to state, when it was brought to my attention, that my original occupancy permit was not listed as my occupancy permit, which I didn't find out until after they came to do my inspection. They have my occupancy permit listed as my sign permit. So I do have one approved, which is my technically occupancy permit listed as my sign permit.
No, ma'am, I have right here the letters that said you were not being given an occupancy permit due to all of the things listed in the letter.
Correct.
You were, however, given a sign
That
permit.
was my most recent.
No, that was actually February 27th of 23. Right.
I didn't get a notice of stuff I needed on February 27th of 2023.
This notice is intended to inform you of the current violations of the Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code, which, by the way, is not the Sunbury Construction Code, it's the
Correct.
Pennsylvania. You may not be used or occupied without a certificate of occupancy issued by a building official. An inspection was performed on February 7th. The inspection failed due to the following life safety issues: no emergency lighting, no smoke detectors, no tactile exit signs. You were also, as you have been told for a year and a half, not getting an occupancy permit because you intended to construct, enlarge, alter, repair, move, demolish, or change the occupancy of a commercial building, including electrical, gas, mechanical, and plumbing systems, and you did not first apply and obtain any required permits. Not only that, but you never gave us any of the permits. So the simple fact is, I mean, I can go through all these letters with you and tell you exactly what you were told on exactly what date and exactly what you didn't do.
So
But the simple fact is, you're leaving a lot of facts out.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not?
I had a personal meeting with Brocious, Barnhart, Jeff, and Jackie.
Ma'am, I can show you the permit that you gave, the application for the permit that said no work was done. I can also show you the before and after pictures of your property, including the elfin, which was improperly installed, the hood, which was improperly installed.
How was it improperly installed?
Because it wasn't to manufacturer specifications and it was a fire hazard. As was told to you in the last letter you received, which was that the 3-bay sink requires an air gap because it would prevent health license guidelines. The emergency lighting, the manufacturer's installation instructions on the electric wordle require an 8-inch minimum clearance on all sides, which you don't have. The manufacturer's installation instructions on the hoods require UL listed duct tape, hard metallic ducting with maximum length of 40 inches, depending
They
upon
didn't check
transition,
my documents.
and verification of proper outdoor termination, which you don't have. Clearance for best function is 28 inches to 36 inches in height above an appliance, all of which you didn't have.
And they didn't even measure. So that's what I'm trying to figure
And
out.
going back to
So
the
you said you
meeting,
did have it?
we did have, it was, as you said, the people listed, and you had questions on what you needed done.
Correct.
I forget if it was Jackie
There
or,
was emergency lighting and exit rail.
and they talked, that was to keep open, they said about your Ansel system that you needed to do, and you said in that meeting that we cannot afford it and we will not serve food anymore because, and that's what you said in
And
that
I
meeting.
said that was our only option.
And they said that you had to
Yeah.
do, and that's what you asked what you needed to do, and they told you what you needed to do. So to sit here and say, or stand there and say, that you weren't aware what needed to be done.
Oh, what they actually ended up saying, correct, because I've gone to every single commercial building inspection meeting that we've had here at council office. I even spoke to a guy at NEIC who came out to inspect my electrical meters and was told if it was there, they required me to maintain it.
So there was a kitchen there when you bought the property.
When it, well, there was an exhaust hood there when it was Rand Derrick's. So again,
So did you buy it when it was Rand Derrick's?
the building was Rand Derrick's operating.
I understand that, when you bought it, did you buy it when it was Rand Derrick's?
No.
Okay,
But
so,
they left all of the equipment in the building. So being told by a code officer, all I have to do is maintain what is there. If it is broken, I'm required to fix it. I'm required to bring it up and maintain it.
But
So
ma'am,
that's what we did
when was Ray and Derek last there?
in 1980.
Right. And the code that's currently followed, I believe, is the Uniform Construction Code of 2019. 18, sorry, Mike, thank you. Therefore, that ensuing 28-year period, the law has changed.
Correct. But then when we come to
38,
these
sorry.
meetings and you tell us things like this, you don't give us the technical details of it all.
Oh, it was given to you. I can show you all the letters.
Correct, but then I also have to argue, looking at that Universal Building Code, it also states that I would need an answer system if I had open flame or if I deep fried. I do not do those, and I've explained that. And the fact that I've cooked that same way for 4 years, which you guys have come in and inspected me and approved me, I did not change my way of cooking, I didn't do anything. So,
When were you approved?
in my old location,
In your old location?
correct.
I'm sorry, the old location was a restaurant and it just switched owners, it switched occupancy.
Correct. So that wasn't an occupancy change, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But the fact the building sat vacant for that 10 years, had all of the equipment in there except for a hood, they took the hood out. I did my due diligence after calling for my occupancy inspection 4 times and not getting a call back. And then I even called again on my 5th time in front of Joe, a code officer. He also got to see I got to leave a message. Never got a call back. So you, in essence, were forcing me to not open because of somebody not doing their job. And that could have maybe ended up what started all this, and now she has a stick up her ass, I do not know. But I did my due diligence, I called my hood manufacturer, and I've even gone on their website, and you get to put in exactly what you do in your kitchen, and they tell you what you need. So based on their recommendations, and also the recommendations of looking at the building code, I technically do not need an answer system because I do not deep fry. I do not even have gas appliances. So there is no open flame. But again, you don't want to listen to that. You want to bring up this new code that I have to follow as if I were building a new construction.
Ma'am, you and everybody else, right?
But no, I can walk into many restaurants that literally have commercial grade deep fryers and no exhaust, let alone no answer system.
Well, I'm sure they haven't come through the commercial inspection process yet.
They have.
They have. Okay. Well, then you give me a list and we'll look.
I will definitely do.
Okay.
But as of this moment, obviously we are done. So I just wanted to make that aware. And if we want to talk any further or have any other questions, we're more than welcome. Reach out. Thank you.
Any other public comment at this time? Any other public comment at this time? All right, I adjourn this meeting.